After my husband died, I stayed quiet not because I was weak, but because I was watching carefully, patiently, the way people change when they think your power has disappeared, the way respect fades, the way voices soften with pity but sharpen with hidden judgment. At the funeral, my stepson leaned in close, his voice low and confident, and whispered, "Don't worry. I'll take care of everything now," as if he had already stepped into a throne that was never his, and I said nothing because sometimes silence is not surrender, it is preparation. For 40 days the house remained full, crowded with relatives, business partners, and polished strangers carrying rehearsed sympathy, repeating the same empty words, "Stay strong." He was a great man, but their eyes never truly saw me. They saw only a widow, a background figure, a woman who had lived quietly beside greatness, never realizing I had helped build it. When the will was read, everything unfolded exactly as they expected. The houses, the accounts, the assets, divided neatly between me and my stepson, and he sat there with that faint, satisfied smile, already imagining himself in control, already tasting victory, until the lawyer paused and mentioned one final document, a detail so small yet so heavy that the room itself seemed to hold its breath, but I didn't react because I already knew what it contained. That night, when the guests were gone and the silence of the house settled like dust, he came to me again, confident, relaxed, almost casual, pouring himself a drink as if he owned not just the house but the air within it, and he told me the estate was too large for me now, that he had arranged a smaller apartment in the city, that it would be more suitable. And I listened without interruption, without expression, until he leaned closer with a faint, cutting smile and added that he would give me something to do, something to keep me busy, suggesting I could manage cleaning his office, as if reducing my entire existence to a task, and in that moment something inside me didn't shatter, it crystallized into something cold, something steady, something unbreakable. The next morning, he walked into the company building like a king stepping into his kingdom, his posture confident, his gaze sharp, his presence demanding acknowledgement, and the employees lowered their eyes while the directors waited in tense silence, watching, measuring, understanding something he did not. He sat in his father's chair, that heavy symbol of authority, and began to speak, ready to declare his rule, ready to reshape what he barely understood. But then the door opened quietly, almost gently, and I walked in. The room shifted instantly. Not with noise but with awareness. He looked at me, confusion flickering into irritation, asking what I was doing there. But I didn't answer, I simply walked forward, steady and unhurried, and placed a file on the table in front of him, and that small action carried more weight than any speech. The lawyer stood, his voice calm but firm, and announced that according to my husband's final directive, the full ownership of the company, every share, every decision, every piece of control belonged to me. Silence fell, thick and suffocating. My stepson laughed at first, dismissing it, calling it impossible, but no one laughed with him, no one supported him, no one even looked at him, because all eyes had turned to me, and in that moment the truth revealed itself not through words, but through recognition. He tried to fight it, insisting I didn't understand business, that I couldn't lead, that I had no place there. And I looked at him calmly and told him that for 25 years I had sat in every meeting his father attended, that I had listened, negotiated, built relationships, made decisions, shaped outcomes. He just never noticed because he never cared to look beyond his assumptions. One by one the directors confirmed it, their voices steady, respectful, undeniable, speaking of deals I had secured, crises I had resolved, partnerships I had nurtured, and with every word his confidence crumbled further, replaced by something fragile, something desperate. He looked around the room as if betrayed, but the truth was simpler. He had never understood the world he thought he owned. I stepped forward, closing the distance between us, and told him quietly that he had humiliated me, that he had mistaken silence for weakness, and now he would understand the cost of that mistake. And then I sat down in the chair he had claimed as his, and in a calm, unwavering voice I told him he was dismissed. He shouted, anger breaking through his disbelief, claiming it was his company, his right, his future. But I looked at him without raising my voice and said, "No, it never was." Security entered, not aggressively but with quiet certainty, and escorted him out, not as a spectacle, not as a scene, but as a conclusion, and when the door finally closed behind him, the room seemed to breathe again, as if something misplaced had been corrected. Someone asked me what we would do next, their voice carrying both uncertainty and hope, and I looked around at the people, at the place, at the legacy that had been built not just with ambition but with patience, loyalty and quiet strength, and I said, Now we rebuild it properly. And in that moment everything shifted, not just for them but for me, because for the first time I was no longer standing beside power or behind it. I was holding it fully, unapologetically. That was the day they finally saw me, not as a widow, not as a shadow, not as someone to be overlooked or dismissed, but as the woman who had always been there, always understood, always capable, because sometimes the quietest person in the room is not the weakest, but the one who has been waiting for the right moment to rise.